Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Welcome to another edition of the Pan-African Pyramid Show here at Fairway Hotel. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, your speaker. Tomorrow, 3rd June, Uganda will be celebrating Martyrs Day. What they call Martyrs Day. In 1885, Kabaka Mwanga ordered his right-hand man, Mukajana, to execute human beings that had become rebellious in his kingdom. There were 45 of them. On the orders of the king, these people were executed because they disobeyed the authority of the time. Now, tomorrow we are celebrating them as martyrs. Why? The religion, once they died, canonized them as so. But let's speak from the same Bible that the religion brought here and read something. Mwanga might step up. Michael, in your Bible, which is on 4, you go to Romans chapter 13, verse 1 to 7. Read for us that. Romans chapter 13, verse 1 to 7. The Bible, what does it say?
I greet you in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, our Muslim brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's reading is from the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1 to 7. Verse 1. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Verse 2. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. Verse 3. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right and he will commend you. Verse 4. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid. For he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Verse 5. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. Verse 6. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Verse 7. Give everyone what you owe him. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, one will not be far from the truth if they contend that Uganda Martyrs instead quicken the scramble for Africa process by our colonial masters via mass recruitments into their religious movements, Catholic, Anglican, and Islam. And these are the African heroes and heroines we celebrate every 3rd June. Whereas on one hand, they claim, or we claim, that we chased colonies from Africa in order to gain our freedom and sovereignty. But on the other hand, we actually still cherish and hold dear all the structures through which they use and continue to use to manipulate us, impoverish us, and colonize us by remote control. Christianity and Islam are some of those biggest structures through which they impoverish us. Roman Catholics are managed from Rome. If you're Christian, Catholic, your headquarters is in Rome. And Anglicans in Canterbury, England. All the monies that are collected every Sunday, the next day, is transferred to those respective countries. The Uganda Martyrs are a group of 23 Anglican and 22 Catholic converts into Christianity in the historical kingdom of Uganda, now part of Uganda, who were executed between 31st January 1885 and 27 January 1887. They were killed on orders of Mwanga, Kabaka Mwanga, the Kabaka of Uganda. And then the death took place at the time when there was a three-way religious struggle for political influence at the Uganda Royal Court. The episode also occurred against the backdrop of the scramble for Africa, the invasion, occupation, division, colonization, and annexation of African territory by European powers. A few years after, the English church missionary strength used the death and enlist wider public support for the British acquisition of Uganda for the empire. The Catholic Church beautified the 22 Catholic martyrs of its faith in 1920 and canonized them in 1964. Publication in Britain of 1875 letter purporting to be an invitation from the King of Uganda, Mutesa I, to send missionaries resulted in the arrival of Alexander Mackay of the Anglican Church Missionary Society to Uganda in 1877. A group of French Catholic White Fathers, led by Père Simon Lodel or Father Mapera, whom we call, what we call Father Mapera today, appeared 2 years later. Arab traders from Zanzibar had introduced Islam into the kingdom. This effectively led to a three-way religious struggle to political influence at the Uganda Royal Court by the mid-1880s. Many had been converted by each of the three groups, and some of the converts held important posts at the king's court. Mutesa himself sympathized with Islam, but many prominent chiefs had become Christians. Ladies and gentlemen, Kabaka Mwanga II succeeded to the throne in 1884. He was concerned at the growing influence of Christianity and the rise of a new class of officials distinct from the traditional territorial chiefs who were educated, had a religious orientation, and wished to reform Uganda society. The German annexation of what is now Tanzania sparked further alarm. A year after becoming king, he ordered the execution of Yusuf Lugarama, Mako Kakumba, and Nuwa Serwanga, who had converted to Christianity. Encouraged by his prime minister, on 29th October 1895, he had the incoming Anglican bishop James Huntington assassinated on the eastern border of his kingdom. This may have been deliberately intended to send a message to the British that he didn't wish for them to make inroads in Uganda. Mwanga, however, subsequently appointed several Christians to important military positions. In 1886, Mwanga ordered the execution of martyrs as they refused to denounce Christianity, which he saw as insubordination. Although some sources say they were both Christian and Muslim converts, other sources speak only of Anglican and Catholic victims and mention the killing of Muslims as having occurred 10 years earlier at the hands of Mwanga's father, Mutesa. Joseph Mukasa, a convert of Christianity who had deployed the assassination of Huntington and had tried to protect the court pages, was actually the first to be executed on 15th November 1885. This was at the instigation of the Katikiro Mukasa, whose successor Joseph Mukasa was tipped to become king. Then between 25th May and 3rd June 1886, a wider series of institutions were carried out. Mwanga instructed the killing of all the young men who disobeyed him, partly to satisfy the demands of the older chiefs. 22 of the men who had converted to Catholicism were burned alive at Namugongo in 1886. Many have argued that the motivation for the execution was a perception that these Christians were rebels against the Kabaka and wielding tools of foreign imperialism. In September 1888, Mwanga planned to get rid of remaining Christian and Muslim leaders by leaving them to starve on an island in crocodile-infested Lake Victoria. word of his plan leaked out, and the rebellion by Christians and Muslims together brought Manga's brother Kiwewa to the throne. In October 1888, the Muslim seized power, expelled the Christian leaders, and when Kiwewa refused to be circumcised, deposed and killed him, replacing him with another brother, Kalema. In December 1888, Mwanga won support from Christians, and in April 1889, advanced against the Uganda capital. He was defeated, but the Christian forces, led by the Protestant chief, Apollo Kagwa, retook the capital, enabling Mwanga to enter it triumphantly on 11th October 1888. Ladies and gentlemen, the very people whose Bible is clear about obeying to the authority are the same people who want to call the people that were killed for rebelling against the king as martyrs. And in the same verse, you read, if I must repeat Michael's words, everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which comes from God. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will be charged on themselves. Now, for he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he doesn't bear the sword for nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, the reading from the Bible, and now putting into context what happened to these people who were killed, the 45, can we still hold the view that they are martyrs? Should we take them as martyrs, or we take them as rebels, people who rebelled against the authorities of that day? Now, on the podium right now, I am glad that all my panelists are now here with us. The first one is Honorable Mukasambide, former Yala MP and Vice President of the Democratic Party. But the other thing we normally forget is that Honorable Mukasambide is a renowned Pan-Africanist and international human rights lawyer. Give him a round of applause. June-Kashaya is a researcher and human rights consultant and a great Pan-Africanist as well. A round of applause. To be very sensitive with the gender balance, I also brought in the middle Timkisha Shamil, who is a MOBS lecturer. Round of applause. And finally, Comrade Dan Lugarama, Chairman Pan-African Movement, Uganda chapter, and a civil rights lawyer. I would like to begin with Dan Lugarama.
Good afternoon, comrades. And like I usually say, I take a presumption that all of us here are comrades.
Yes.
Comrades is such a high title that you must earn it. I want to believe that Comrade Irumba has not changed the topic, and the topic is about the Uganda matters. Are they really matters, or they were political rebels? The period 1884 up to 1885, up to 1887, so certain dynamics, political and otherwise, in the Kingdom of Uganda. It was during that time that the missionaries, the Church Missionary Society, and those who were of the Catholic inclination, and also the beehive activity of the Muslim community coming into and trying to quote the Kingdom of Uganda. Of particular interest was the group that professed Roman Catholicism and also Anglican. They particularly entered the palace of the then Kawaka Mwanga, who was relatively young, and they started teaching. So it says the good news to the pigs. And these pigs, among them, we had the likes of Ngondwe, Zeketa, Morgani Mua, Tia Murumba, to mention but a few. And like I said from the onset, they belong to two mainly camps, the Anglican and the Catholic. Around the same time, unknown to the Kabaka, the levels of penetration in his kingdom were so huge that the Begs started not attending to their routine duties. These Begs were a collection of obedient young men ranging between 12 and a half or 13 and a half to 25. In particular, we had the youngest mother, Rogarama, from where I take the name, who basically was less than 14 years.
So that's your mother? That's your saint?
Well, you can say that. Although when you go to the Anglican shrine, you will find that Rogarama written with L. The correct spelling is R. But that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the subject of debate is much bigger than the spellings. Whether it is R or L is another issue.
So do you believe that Garama died for you?
I honestly, in my submission, will bring out the view as to whether he actually died for me. That is even if he actually died for himself, because that is also in contention as to whether he died for himself or died for others. But I do not take away your belief that he actually died for you or died for any other person apart from you. What is of great importance is that these young men, whose age ranged from 13 to around 25, were so much indoctrinated. I was hesitating to use the word, but let me say it for purposes of my submission. To the extent that even when they saw death staring in their face, they could not renounce what they had been told. We had cases whereby a young man like Matia Murumba resisted moving, being taken to Namugongo, which takes the name mainly from in Uganda, Namugongo. They used to take those people, dragging them against their back. And they didn't start with the Uganda Martyrs, if you like, because that was the site where all those who rebelled against the Uganda kingdom or were considered to be of certain degree of bad manners would be taken there for execution. The particular site where they would be murdered is the current Nachianja at the Protestant or Anglican shrine, where there is that river. After they are being cut, they would wash the swords on that particular river. This one near the Catholic shrine, at the Catholic shrine, was just created. It was done just recently, not long ago. And we know that all that piece of land belonged to the Chisosongole family, and they actually got it free because he gave about 48 acres to the Catholic, and then he gave another close to some hundreds of acres to the Anglican shrine. The Matia Murumba, whose church is at Fairway Hotel Kampala, he resisted and said, "You are going to kill me all the same, so I have no business going to Namugongo." He was killed there, and that's how the Matia Murumba Catholic Church comes up. Rugarama, a young lad of about 13 years, you can imagine how much he had appreciated the religion. He was killed at Natete, around Natete. Gonza, those of you who come from Kabuli, as you are going to Namugongo, taking Chereka route, is Gonza Catholic Church. He was killed around there. And others who later on were killed at Namugongo by way of burning, but they burnt them alive. Now, consequently, due to the growth of religion, the development, the growth of religion being developed and expanding, and the agitations, the young boys who were persuaded into committing suicide were turned into martyrs and called Ugandan martyrs. The whites who were teaching them, instructing them in the ways of the Bible are nowhere to be seen. Its history does not report that they escorted them to the execution centers, and none of them is reported having witnessed their being burnt in Namugongo. That is another interesting episode. Around the time when they were being instructed, Kabaka would come from hunting, and as bad luck would have it, he would find the young men not around performing their duties. One incident, he lost his gun, and his wise man, whom the Christians call a witch doctor, told him that the problem was as a consequence of the white man that was indoctrinating the young boys. He went fishing. For the very first time, he didn't catch any fish. When he came back to the palace, again, his wise man told him that the bad omen is a consequence of the activities of the white man in the palace. These young men, even if we were to group them and say they were political rebels, they would not qualify. In my opinion, the real political rebels were the whites who were given the platform and the cover by the generous Kabaka, and they abused the generosity of the Kabaka, tried to penetrate the young men who were supposed to perform certain specific duties for the king and the kingdom. And as a result, they created an atmosphere to want to overthrow the kingdom. And in actual sense, history tells you that the Uganda kingdom, like any other kingdoms at that time, the king was an absolute king. He was the religious head as well as the political head. In one of the prayers, they would say, "May their kingdom come." Now, Manda in his wisdom asked which kingdom was to come, which was not the Uganda kingdom, for which he was the head. There is no way, therefore, that kind of prayer could survive the wrath of man. Secondly, in the activities which these people carried out and in the interrogation, further interrogation, because these pigs were given opportunity to renounce what they thought was the ultimate, and they didn't. The chief executioner had a relative. This young man was told he was even hidden and smuggled, taken back to Chanja, to his mother, who was related to Mokajanga, and asked to renounce. The levels of penetration and indoctrination were so high that he refused, like so many others, because history of the martyrs, they tell us that some of them, even when they were burning, they were calling for more firewood. Now we will take that one as being deep in the religious aspect. Like we have had even similar situations reoccurring. But the truth of the matter is that the white man at that time, who had penetrated the palace, his intention was completely to bring down the kingdom of Buganda. He had no interest in bringing this particular God, his interest was far and beyond the God omnipotent, the God omniscient, the bringing the African man closer to this foreign God. Strange, because truth be told, we had a God and we worshipped a God and in harmony, but this time around his entry created friction, and the friction resulted in the execution of these young men. I want to, by way of concluding on this, to say therefore, as far as this question is concerned, depending on which part of the fence you are standing, even to argue that these were political rebels, in my opinion, is not correct. Because the people who went to the gallows, the people who were sent and burnt in the fire, were actually not conscious of their activities. They were incapable, they were not schooled enough to have formed an independent opinion, to have analyzed the situation and reached a logical conclusion that they wanted to rebel against the Kabaka and the kingdom in preference of a certain God who was going to give them more life and more power and to live in eternity. And finally, even if you wanted to argue that these were matters, it is still strange, and unless, of course, you want to tell me that the power of the Holy Spirit, the one which touched the apostles who wrote the scriptures that we have in the Bible, is the same spirit that came down and touched these young men to believe that there was a God over and above the Kabaka that they had known all along, that led to their having the faith that even if they burnt, they are going to move to a better world, which I so much doubt that such Holy Spirit had come down upon them. It therefore leaves me with one conclusion, that the real rebels were the whites, and we seem not to have, including the Kabaka at that time, identified the culprits. Therefore, the people who went for trial and finally who were given the punishment were actually a case of wrong identity. I so submit. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Dan Rugarama. Let me invite Comrade Kashaya.
Mr. Speaker, sir, these people who were executed in Namugongo were not only rebels, but collaborators. And they were not only collaborators, but agents of the imperialists. During the time when these executions happened, these were the days when Africa was facing serious problem of colonization. Mr. Speaker, these kings, the African kings, the African leaders, some of them were wise. And these people were seeing far what will happen in the future. So many of you know that Christianity was brought here as a weapon. It was a weapon to justify their colonial occupation. So many kings, including King Kabalida, fought them. And this today we are trying to see, Mr. Speaker, that the kings were right. Yes.
So Kabaka Mwanga was ready to execute this.
Very much.
Very correct.
How can you, for instance, go in a region? There is one region called Roman Catholic Church, which all of you know as Catholic. But it does not say Ugandan Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church, which means that the church belongs to Romans, not to Ugandans.
Belongs to Rome.
Yes. So this is the church you are dying for. the church which belongs to Romans
is what you are dying for.
it's the one you are dying for. So you can see even some leaders at that time had vision. Even some of these religions you are fighting that they died for, right now they are at the edge of collapsing. Look at the Church of England. As we speak right now, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Church of Uganda
Is a cutting itself.
is separate from the Church of Kampala. Now, in your wisdom, don't you think this King Mwanga was wise? He was seeing that these regions, these imperials, they are broad, had no foundation, and therefore, at a certain stage, they will collapse. So, in other words, Mr. Speaker, we are seeing this as a serious crime against humanity perpetrated by these imperials by using innocent Africans.
Underage.
Yes.
Some of those people were 18, 12. I mean 13, 12 years.
You see, again, Mr. Speaker, for the past one month now, I've been watching how Ugandans are watching thousands and thousands of kilometers. Others without even shoes. Wastage of days. Going to worship with naked feet and what? And by the way,
They are going to Namugongo.
they are going to Namugongo.
Others are going to Jupiter.
You ask them what they are going to do.
Mr. June-Kashaya, let's first make it clear. Part of the world is going to Jupiter.
As the world is competing to go to Jupiter and making serious innovations and technology,
Ugandans are going.
many Ugandans are walking thousands and thousands of kilometers to go to Namugongo.
Free your mind now. Be part of. Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, sir, even the organizers of Namugongo, these people even they are not paying. Now, Ugandan government spent a lot of money to rehabilitate these sites. But all these peasants who are going there, they are not adding any value. You are walking from for instance, Kaburambaino, from Kanungu to Namugongo. Shortly after that, then you ask government to transport you back. Many of them will be asking to transport.
Government
Now, what kind of society is this, Mr. Speaker?
Elon Musk is going to Mars.
Others are competing, others are doing everything. For us, we are busy moving. Others are ready even to go naked. But they are going, remembering who? For the last 30 years, you have been going for pilgrimage. How much have you got? You know, these are serious things. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is very absurd. Now, thirdly, before these people came, Africa had their style of worship. And this religion of ours, the African style of worshiping, used to work. That's why in some other countries in Europe, they respect African magic. And it could work. Now, these religions you supported, even which you don't know, they have collapsed. They have collapsed, completely collapsed. Lastly, the only thing we can concentrate on, Mr. Speaker, if we want to make Namugongo as a tourist attraction, we must make Namugongo every pilgrim to pay. are becoming now a burden. You are coming from Soroti, you are coming from Barara, you reach in Namugongo, you can't transport yourself back, you have not contributed anything, even the things you are remembering, they are no longer adding any value. So to me, Mr. Speaker, I would agree with the one who said this topic, that these people were really rebels. And they were not only rebels, but they were collaborators.
Did they deserve to die?
Yes, because you see, even right now, even those who are moving, that's why I like the comment from those people said, were they conscious? Can you ask even now, those who are moving on foot, are they conscious of what they are doing? Or they are just moving? By the way, let me tell you, many Africans are redundant. You find a person walking, you ask where you go, yes, you can even divert that person and take him back. Good evening.
Thank you so much. James Kashaya. Actually, Kashaya, I have heard today, this morning, yes, Professor, I have heard this morning that the family of Mukajang, they are demanding to be recognized and to be awarded for the good job well done.
To me, it's a healing.
Hey, Mukajang. The family is demanding for they want to be recognized, they want to be paid money, they want to benefit for the good job well done. Professor William is an international human rights lawyer and a Pan-Africanist.
Indeed, the concept of the Uganda Martyrs is a matter in which today I may speak differently. In my opinion, the Uganda Martyrs defined this nation. I want to call Uganda the land of martyrs for a reason. First, I want to comment on the age. On Monday, I was at the Uganda Martyrs campus, Rubaka, with Isaac, and asked Father Musubiri and the Catholic community that had organized that exhibition. I said, why is it that most of the Uganda martyrs who were killed were children? And I think some of you are talking without looking at the picture taken of those people. Those people were children. Children, some as young as 9. Look at that picture, which was taken a year before they died. Just go to the internet. So, why do you think that if it was conspiracy of imperialism, why is it that there are no adults who died? I tell you, Europeans have never had a religion. White people have never had a spirituality. These people are not spiritual. These people are not people. White people are not people. The religion you call Christianity is our own religion, African religion. Look carefully, I tell you this. Look at the history, go and Google the history of the Kemet civilization in Egypt. They had 40 commandments.
The religion of what?
Kemet religion. In the ancient Egypt who were blacks, they had 40 commandments. And those 40 commandments were the ones the Hebrews claimed to have God reduced to 10 on Mount Sinai, which is a mountain in Africa. So, this religion, which God revealed in Africa for Africans, is what the Hebrews took and claimed is there. And it is the Hebrew religion that Christianity is built upon.
So your argument, what's your point? Your point is that Christianity is not originate from Europe, it originates from here.
Yes, people don't really.
Then how come it is headquartered in Rome and Canterbury?
It is because they perverted it. You don't get that? They perverted it. And you are running away from your own religion.
So Christianity is ours?
It's ours. Look, read the Bible, please. Like I was very.
Who wrote this paper?
I was disadvantaged.
Professor, who wrote this paper you want me to read? Whose is it?
Do you know that the first 5 books of the Bible were written from Africa? Do you? True. Somebody just said true. Do you know your map very well? Where's Mount Sinai? Is Mount Sinai not part of Africa?
It is.
It is a part of Africa. It's a peninsula. This is Mount Sinai. Why have you put it here? It's part of Africa. Every time God has wanted to raise a people, He has sent them to Africa. Read the Bible very well. The Bible says, God sent the house of Jacob to Africa. Not so? And from Africa they became a nation. The Bible also says, God sent Jesus to come and take refuge here. And it says, from out of Egypt I called my son. Both sons. The son Jesus and the son as in the state of Israel. You know, that's why our ancestors, you know, like me, I'm a Luo, and I can assure you, you read the Old Testament today, how you can use, how the ancient people use a goat to atone for sin. You see that thing? Is there no African culture in that? Have you followed? Have you read the first commandment? The first books? Where Africans were using goats to atone for sin. Huh? If you read it very well, I wish you had brought your Mutoro prince. He would have told you. Kasagama. All the ancient prayer of the Old Testament, they are pure African. They are pure African.
Your speaker, June-Kashaya.
3rd June, the Martyrs. Are they Martyrs or rebels? Shamim.
Habari za jioni. That's how I greet, because Kiswahili is now our language for Africa. So on this topic, they are martyrs, and then I also say they are a bit rebels. But then they were used by whites. Now, why the kings, as we are saying, that there are many people who put up resistance, that my comrade Rugama has said, there are kings like King Kamakabalenga or Bunyoro Kingdom. These were very wise African people. We had Nyaringi. I think some of you have heard about her in the Rastafarian movement. All these people put up resistance. But then those people who succeeded, people who, now let us take, for example, if Kabaka Mwanga put resistance and executed these young people, the martyrs, it instead escalated the whole, it actually helped in spreading Christianity. Many people joined the whole religion looking at what these people had. They were
So Katan was a blessing in this case.
That's what happened. So he thought he was putting up, he was stopping this, but instead it grew and grew. Now, what do I think about religions? For us as Africans, if God blessed all people with different prophets, for us as Africans, we have our own Emperor Haile Selassie.
Haile Selassie.
Yes, our Emperor Haile Selassie comes from the lineage of Queen of Sheba and King Solomon in the Bible. That's where our Emperor Haile Selassie comes from. So we have our own Messiah. That is our Messiah for Africa. Now for us as Africans, we do not want to research, we do not want to read, we are ignorant about the things. That is why you see, when we sit down and look at different religions, me, I have been studying, I was born a Muslim, I have read Christianity, I have seen Pan-Africanism. There is one time I moved to Basaja Days, it is a sub on near Yugachi. Yes.
You went there?
Yes, I went there.
Where did you go there?
Then I went there to investigate, to find out what is the spirituality of these people. What do they believe in? Because we fear as Africans, when you talk about your ancestors, you want even to hide yourself. Because you think they are bad people, they are ghosts, they are... No. These are people who gave birth to us from the Almighty God through generations, and we must respect that.
Free your mind now. Free your mind now.
So when I went to Asaja Denzi, we had a conversation and I asked these people, what do you believe in? What they explained to me, I was like, why in Africa, why aren't we aware that spirituality, we have our own and it's not evil? They don't even want a stain of blood in that shrine. If you are a woman and you are in your those days, they ask you, if you are, you don't even step there. There is a place where you stop. They don't want to see any sacrifice. When they want to eat chicken, they cross the road and they cut the chicken, then they bring it in. So these people were like, because of the Kabaka here in the palace who were doing barbaric acts. So they were showing people, you see how you people, you are worshiping these traditions of yours, they are wrong, you just leave it. But then when you find that they are true Africans who worship well, they have togetherness, Ubuntu. They have no nothing.
You take me there.
Yes. So when I realized that, and I read about our own Emperor Haile Selassie, I was like, now for Africa, our own Emperor Haile Selassie was our Messiah. That's why even you see the Bob Marley, all those people were killed because they were preaching to us about our true identity. Then Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but yourself can free your mind. They collect the money from here. You see people here going like in church every day, you put your money, and on top of the offering, you give tithe, a tenth of your own salary. You are paying a tenth of your salary, all of you. So if you have sheep, actually they call you sheep. People who are like that, they are sheep, and that's how they call them. So you see sheep, how many sheep who collect all that money and it goes there. Then you have neighbors and you're making a video talking about climate change when your neighbors are sleeping hungry. So that is why for us as Africans, our religion is Ubuntu. Even in the Bible, they tell you the true religion of God is when you are taking care of an orphan, when you're taking care of widows. That is also the true religion of Islam. So all your religion, you can have spirituality, it is very healthy for you. But looking, also carrying your own brain. You don't have to be so stupid, whereby you see on YouTube, yesterday I was seeing people eating grass. The pastor tells you, all of the sheep get out and eat grass. You see people eating grass. Even these people who came from Namugongo, I saw a whole taxi. People got an accident. They are coming, they landed, people come here, even Samona. Samona's wife said one of the children who don't belong to Samona's, the husband, she acquired that pregnancy when she had gone to Namugongo for the pilgrimage. So when you see those things, you see what is happening there. We see when people are there drunk, as if it's a stupidity of the highest order. So if you cannot, for me, I have taught my children, yes, to be spiritual. My children, they believe it, they are Anglicans. But I have taught them, yes, you can believe in that, but you have to carry your brain. You shouldn't be extremely into a religion whereby you even do not have brains to think for yourself, to do things that you have to do. You spend the whole time, you take money, you take a car to the church, you take millions of money to the church, and you're there the whole day instead of going to work. God is a loving God, the Almighty God. Go pray for yourself, do acts of help your neighbor, do charity, do that, and you're good to go. You don't have to go and you walk, you even die. These people were found in Kenya fasting for how many days? They all died. You are doing things for God, people are becoming very stupid. In Africa, we need to wake up.
Honorable Speaker, this is a very interesting topic. But at the same time, while submitting to a topic of this nature, particularly for me as a Catholic, I am actually treading a narrow path in the mountains to the extent that any slightest false step, left or right, I can be led down the precipice. Therefore, to adopt a manner in which you have to debate. You may choose to be apostate and schismatic, meaning that for you, in the circumstances, you believe that whatever they are talking about is outright nonsense. But at the same time, when you look at rebellion. Because martyrdom and rebellion, for me as an advocate, I believe in terms of evidence. I want to avoid the superfluity of submitting to you, right honorable speaker, material that I do not have evidence about. For example, and I was very happy when my comrade June-Kashaya debated here, saying that while others were moving to Jupiter, the rest are trekking to Namugongo. Those trekking to Namugongo, by the way, believe that that is the way to heaven. I do not know which is closer, either Jupiter or heaven.
Now, be part of People's Pan-African Parliament.
So, right now, that
is the route to heaven.
Yeah, it is the shortest. Because the basis of, for me, I'm a Christian, and the basis of belief in terms of the Bible is the stupidity that you must bear in terms of questions as to whether or not God exists. And for me, I equate to that kind of definition. Because they say, you know, when Jesus met Thomas, he told him that you are believing I exist simply because you have seen me, but blessed are those that believe without seeing me. So meaning that, please, these ones of the current generation that believe Jesus exists without seeing him, I think we are going to be, we shall be in the VIP of heaven. Now, there has also been submissions here to the extent that, of course, the religion is African. By the way, there is a hypothesis to that effect. The only problem is that when now we get to see the format in which Jesus is reflected, the theory of the archaeopoeta. Archaeopoeta, that is a theory that represents exactly the image of Jesus and the Virgin Mary. And there is a fundamental belief that those that are, because it depends on the photographs that were drawn without hands, that those ones were assumed to have been actually mysterious reflection, mysterious occurrences that reflect how Jesus and the Virgin Mary look like. Now, when you look at that theory and the photographs reflected there, you begin to think that actually, if these ones were by any chance African, then they must be Africans, but of the color that looks like white. Of course, when you go to countries like Egypt, when you go to countries like Tunisia, the difference between Europeans and those people really, that is non-existent. Now, Honorable Speaker, in terms of rebellion, you know, Africans say that if the roots are deep, you do not get worried of the wind. If the roots are deep, you have no business getting worried about the wind. Now, this is what exists. That Kabaka Mwanga of the time lived a fragile status in terms of leadership. And for all the 13 years, he had been infiltrated, because when we read the details of the times, the period of 1884 to the time when actually Mwanga was deposed, because 1885, that's when we had the Berlin Conference. So the rate at which infiltration took place in the African continent was itself really worrying. And I associate myself, right now, Speaker, with the interlude that you actually gave in the beginning of this submission. I can tell you that I think the Kabaka did not feel with the infiltrations that generated persons like Stanislas Mugwanya, Zakaria Chisingiri, Apollo Kagwa, all of those, and in fact even Sebei Kakungulu, who had even established tentacles up to Mbale, but all now focusing on the Buganda region itself. Kabaka really did not have very close association with strength of power, to the extent that then he would now begin to deal with people without substantial and reasonable hypotheses, leading towards whether or not there is rebellion contemplated. Okay. The kingdom that these people were talking about was unknown, and there was no evidence that such a kingdom existed, even at the time they were talking about it. It was located in heaven, and heaven had no geographical location, even at the time. So clearly, a leader that was aware of what was going on had no business killing those that were promising the rest that they are going away to heaven. So, right honorable Speaker, what are we talking about? When you talk of rebellion, you are now introducing material circumstances of criminality. Criminal has got a very serious standard of proof. There must be evidential burden that has to be disposed of. So, Now, juxtaposing the circumstances that obtained at the time, which kingdom was being established, which leader was being supported, to the extent that Kabaka Mwanga felt he was being fought. So in my opinion, I think, if you are to have regard to the reasonable hypothesis that had to be created, I think whoever killed anybody with the view that such persons were espousing a new administration, contrary to that of Mwanga, operated with a scintilla, with no scintilla of justification at the time. There was no iota of justification, right, Honorable Speaker. Weighing against all circumstances, right, Honorable Speaker, I think the kingdom was shaken. Because he was deposited 3 times, and for all the 3 times that he returned, of course, up to the subsequent death that he enjoyed, I can tell you that I think that was a shaky administration, beyond which everybody was a suspect except him.
In the two clear what? The killing of these people, was it legal or illegal?
The killing was extremely illegal. It was not backed by any substantial proof. It was majorly a pretentious move, superfluous, spurious. It was backed by teaching and leader. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Therefore, are they matters or not matters?
They are matters, Honorable Speaker, according to me.
Thank you so much. Take this back to the audience. I will begin with Mr. Magezi Kirinju from GCIC.
I believe they are matters because it is the victors who decide who is the matter, who is not, and Christianity one in this case. So they are matters.
Thank you. Let me have Mr. June-Kashaya from Metropolitan International University.
According to the motion, in the context of Pan-African, if they were saying, were they African heroes? That's why I could feel right. That's why I could say they were either not African heroes. But now we are in the context of Christianity. If it is Christianity, it means they were martyrs. Because if you follow Christianity, for them they had the belief of Christianity, but they never had the heart of fighting for Africa. Out good. So, according to the standing government, when you oppose the government punishes you. So they were punished by the government of Kabaka Mwanga.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Diamugisha. Let me have a twin Timothy from Kiambogo University.
Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening, Comrade.
My name is Adwina Timothy from Kiambogo University. First of all, following Professor Remu's submissions, I think this is the first time I'm disagreeing with him. Yes, he said Africa is the origin of religion. I totally agree.
Christianity is an African religion.
Yes, and Africa as a continent, we are the people who brought up Christianity, not the European. Get the point? So I really wonder about this submission, Professor Alemi, because this was not surely a religion or anything. It was just a belief. Right now we have a government. If the opposition comes up with some beliefs, so I'm saying these matters became matters by default. They never wanted to be matters because most of them were handed for. If you have some examples like that 14-year-old matter, he was handed for. Some of them were found in villages. They were handed.
So they are matters by default.
By default.
It's so much giving a lot of applause. Omar Andrew, Angolia Bridge.
Omar Andrew is my name. Chambogo University engineering student. First and foremost, I would love to divert and give a different submission from Mr. Kashaya. Yeah. I thank you so much for the submission and I respect it, but I would love to divert from it. In 1882, these fathers were forced to leave the land by a certain king. But as they're leaving, they had already converted people in the land. So these people they converted kept on spreading the Christianity within the land. But according to me, Kabaka Mwanga is the rebel we're talking about today. Why did he have to invite the people that were chased already by a king before him?
Thank you so much. Finally, Angolia.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
What do you think? Should we celebrate these people, or we should simply say you deserve it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. My name is Angwali from Namugongo University. We should commemorate this day, and I strongly believe these people are martyrs. They are not rebels. You get a Christian martyr is a person who dies for his faith in believing in Jesus Christ. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think now the onus is on you. Like he has said, we have to be intellectual. That's why sometimes I don't agree with people, and I have seen some of you. You debate with a lot of difficulties because I am a Christian. I am also a Christian. I'm angry, but I speak out my mind. I speak out. I am angry. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I go to church. Actually, my father built a church, my village church. What am I saying? It was built by my father. Yes, but should that really, come over my head and stop me from thinking broadly and freely? You must be free. You must free your mind. Speak of your mind. Let us debate these arguments, these topics freely. Yes, let's feel free. That's your mind. It may be wrong, but that is you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a nice time actually having you here on Friday evening, and let's watch this show tomorrow on Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. on NBS television, and on Monday 2 to 3 p.m. My name is Andrew Irumba.